Imagine a guy claiming to be the strongest man in the world, getting arrested, and actually becoming a real hero. That describes the story of the anime which we'll be recapping today, Rokka no Yusha. In the opening scene, the narrator spoke of how 6 heroes called the bravest of the 6 flowers were selected by the goddess of fate to save the world from demons. In the main timeline, a ritual tournament semifinals was being held at the kingdom of Piena before the king. The combatants, the captain of Piena's royal guard, Batul Rinahak, and Quadogane of Tamasu Nation were introduced, and the winner was going to battle Princess Nachetanya. A man suddenly shows up and introduces himself as Adlet Mayor, the strongest man in the world. He easily takes out the guards who swarm him with special needles and defeats the 2 combatants using uncanny machinations. He was arrested almost immediately though. In prison, he meets a cheerful maid who claims to be his fan. He tells her about himself, his age, 18, his homeland, Wu-Ro, and his master, Atro Spiker. He discussed his goal of becoming one of the 6 braves and defeating the demon god, and she narrated the lore behind their existence. They discussed how potential braves were being killed before the demon god's revival, and he gives her a friendly message for the princess. Adlet was soon sentenced to indefinite imprisonment and spent weeks in an isolated pit. Soon after, the kingdom felt the tremors or the demon god's awakening, and the crest of the 6 braves appeared on Adlet's hand. The maid from before, who turned out to be the princess, and the Saint of Blades, among the braves, freed him with magic, and they went on a journey to save the world. They rode around having fun on the road. One night, Nachetanya enlightened Adlet on how a civil war in Piena led to her father losing his power and the rest of her family leaving. Also, how her father ordered her execution before she became the Saint of Blades, and her dream to bring peace to the world. The next day, they continued their journey and she informed Adlet that Goldoff, the leader of Piena's knights, went to find the brave killer, and about how Riora, the Sun Saint, was missing. They made it to Gwenbyre, where they encountered and defeated some fiends that were terrorizing the villagers. Adlet goes into the village to save the girl who was left behind, but meets another of the braves named Flamey, who attacks him with a special gun. Nachetanya meets with Goldoff, who's also a brave, and in his report, he describes Flamey as a brave killer. Flamey still has Adlet at gunpoint. She claimed to be the Saw of Gunpowder, and after criticizing his methods, she reveals her decision to fight the demon god alone, and promises to stay out of their way if they do the same for her. She attempts to flee, but Adlet uses typical underhanded methods to make her follow him. Nachetanya and Goldoff kill a couple of fiends with their special weapons, and they discover a message from Adlet telling them to move on without him. They do just that, while Adlet and Flamey travel together as well. They arrived at the meeting point, which was a fortress where the continent and peninsula collides. Adlet and Flamey get informed that the 2 other braves have already left 2 days before they arrived. A soldier informed them of the phantasmal barrier, which protects the human race, and told them about the temple which activates it, where a brave named Mora, the Saint of Mountains, is on standby. The duo make their way to the temple to activate the barrier, and on the way, they get attacked by Nachetanya and Goldoff. Adlet stops the fight by informing the 2 invaders that Flamey is a fellow brave. He gets shocked when they reveal to him that she's the brave killer, and Flamey admits this herself. Adlet persistently stands by Flamey, and they all stop the fight, and eventually travel together. They encounter dragon-like fiends, and the others fight them off, while Adlet races to the temple. When he arrives, he realized that the barrier was already activated. Now trapped in the temple, surrounded by fog, they met a little girl who claimed to be another brave, the Saint of Swamps, Chamat. Chamat tries to kill Flamey, but gets stopped by the rest of the gang. The Saint of Mountains, Mara, walks in and introduces another brave named Hans. After verifying their crest flowers, they realize that there were actually 7 braves. And while everyone was perplexed, Adlet concluded that one had to be an enemy. They all eventually came to the conclusion that one of them was on the demon god's side. To snuff out the fake brave, they all introduced themselves in detail, one after another, and they were all stunned when Flamey revealed herself to a human-fiend hybrid. She narrated her past, about how she was created to fight the braves, how she gained the Saint of Gunpowder's power, and other details. They suspected she was the traitor, and Chamat attempted to torture her but got stopped by Hans. Hans convinces them that she can't be the traitor. Adlet narrates his experience at the temple when he got in, and Hans comes to the conclusion that Adlet is the traitor and the one who activated the barrier. Anyways, Hit that like and subscribe button, and you're guaranteed quality anime content and protection from all forms of devilish fiends. Adlet tries to defend himself from the accusation, but all evidence pointed to him being guilty. All fingers were pointed at Adlet, except Nachetanya, who tried to defend him. Goldoff attacks Adlet with intention to kill, but dodges and runs off with Flamey after being stabbed. He passes out in the forest soon after. He dreams about his past and how he lost his beloved family and got trained by his master. He woke up to discover he was patched up by Flamey. They pondered about who the actual traitor could be among the others. Despite being in a dire situation, Adlet smiled and yelled the ideals he was taught by his master. Flamey asked him why he wanted to become a brave, but he was stunned by her rare show of concern towards another person. Adlet narrates his harsh training experience with Atros Spiker, his master, and she asked why he endured to become a brave. He then described how he was the sole survivor after his home was taken over by the demon race. Flamey narrated her own sad past, including how she was made to be a tool for killing by the fiends, how her mother betrayed her, and how she had plans to get revenge by defeating the demon god. Adlet says he trusts her because she's like him, but she refuses, saying she has nothing to believe in. She crafts and gives him a special item as a parting gift and goes back into the temple. Flamey reveals everything she told to Adlet to the rest of the Braves. They split up in order to hunt down Adlet. Nachetanya tells Goldoff that she thinks Adlet is innocent and Hans is the actual culprit. Hans finds Adlet and they engage in an intense battle. Hans pins Adlet down and is about to rip Adlet apart with his blade. Hans interrogates Adlet, but he soon escapes Hans's hold. They start fighting again, and after a bit of cat and mouse, Adlet drops all his secret weapons and challenges Hans to a one-on-one sword battle. Adlet sneakishly propels his sword's blade from his handle and takes out one of Hans's blades. Hans confirms Adlet's innocence in his own scary way. They partner up and try to figure out the seventh brave like the others. Mara and Flamey get closer as they search for Adlet, and Mara convinces the gunslinger girl to kill Adlet once they see him. Adlet decides to find Chamat after investigating the temple with Hans. They find her outside, and she decides to kill them all in order to find the enemy. Chamat attacks them with fluid-like monsters she created. Hans and Adlet fight these monsters with their blades, but they keep coming back. After much struggle, Adlet managed to stall the monsters while Hans knocks Chamat out. Hans warns Adlet about Flamey before they split up. Adlet ignites the special item Flamey gave him, and she meets up with him as planned. Adlet told Flamey about the 7th Brave's plans, and they shared their suspicions about how the crime came to be. Hans argued with Mara, who believed Adlet was still the 7th Brave. Adlet boldly declares to protect Flamey from suspicion, and she seems to trust him a lot more now. Nachetanya, who was with Goldoff, was relieved that Adlet hadn't died yet. Flamey points her gun at Adlet yet again, demanding to know why he trusted her so easily. Adlet confessed that he was in love with her. She worries about where she'll live after the demon god has been killed, and Adlet reassured her, saying he'd create a home for her. But she shot at him, and said she's certain he's her enemy. Upon hearing the gunshots, Mara activates her overwhelming powers and ordered the Braves to kill Adlet. Flamey kept chasing Adlet around with her explosive attacks. Meanwhile, Nachetanya lost her mind and unleashed a swarm of blades which terrified Goldoff. Mara joins Flamey in attacking Adlet and unleashes a series of powerful punches which the strongest man in the world managed to dodge. Adlet soon surrendered and used one of his tools to prove Flamey's innocence. Mara tried to crush Adlet to death with a punch that got stopped by a gunshot from Flamey. They both run away from Mara and her thunderous attacks, but now come faced with Nachetanya and her myriad of blades. Flamey tries to convince Nachetanya that Adlet is innocent, but she refuses to believe. Nachetanya, Goldoff, and Mara now battle intensely against Adlet and Flamey. Goldoff and Mara soon captured Flamey, while Adlet was being chased down by Nachetanya and her deadly blades. After nearly being ripped apart by the princess, Adlet managed to kick her off, but gets faced with the rest of the opposing heroes. He soon gets cornered, and Hans and Chamat join the fray. Adlet begins to unveil the actual truth. While weak and in pain, he revealed the 7th Brave worked with the Sun Saint Rokka, who was believed to be dead in order to trick them and activate the barrier. Hans provided physical evidence of this by extracting Rokka's dead body from the belly of a dead fiend. Adlet was now ready to reveal who the actual traitor was. The Braves shifted their attention to Mara, who they believed was the culprit. Chamat stopped them from attacking her by providing new evidence in form of hidden stone tablets to vindicate her. The tablets contained instructions on how to activate and deactivate the barrier. And the traitor was indeed revealed to be Nachetanya, who broke the tablet. The princess admits to being the traitor, and her aim was to create a world where humans and demons could live in peace. But she needed to revive the demon god. They all attacked her, but she escaped using a fiend technique. Flamey tends to his wounds, and later on, the Braves meet the Saint of Blood, Rolonia, who also was a Brave. Adlet takes command of the 7 Braves, and they head out to the land of howling demons to defeat the demon god. If you're interested in more anime stories about demon lords, then hit the like and subscribe button for more quality content.